It's on. I fixed it.
All right. Okay, I hope everyone can hear me. We're here at Veterans Park in Redondo Beach, Arsenye. Good to see you, man. Been waiting for this all week. Thanks, Sifu's behind the camera. So today we are going to, we're going to do some Wing Chun. And just from a friend of ours who asked a question earlier, I'm going to try to look at how maybe some different ideas, not necessarily techniques all the time, but how to avoid getting caught with like multiple, if someone's throwing like multiple attacks, this is very hard to block everything, right? So when I was training, and probably I'm sure when you were fighting and so on, like you're either attacking or you're trying not to get hit, right? You can't block your way out of a fight necessarily, right? Like there's obviously maneuvers, you got to get your arms in the way. But one of the things I always sort of like, or maybe over the years have been looking at more, we spend a lot of time training punches. Yeah, straight punches in particular. We have the other ones, but I think going into the basics, like when you look at some of the defenses that we like to use in practice, other than the defensive part of it, I think almost all of them set up a line for an attack, right? That doesn't mean you can do a two-arm maneuver every single thing I'm doing, right? But you're looking for those moments where, I'm going to move into that situation. Maybe it's because of the way my combo is coming. And, that way we can, rather than trying to face everything, maybe I can get you to move into the position where my counters are available, rather than me trying to force them to happen, because I can get really caught up. Like if your guard is up and I just step forward with a punch, well, guess what? I mean, you could take a punch and hit me back, right? Yep. So I don't necessarily always want to, commit both my arms right away. I think, being, I'm a little maybe smaller. I was always like maybe what you might call a welterweight. So if I was a heavyweight, maybe I would be a little bit more inclined to stand here and take a shot to clobber someone back, right? So depending on your body type, you can change your strategies around a little bit. So anyways, we're going to look at maybe some different combos that come up just off the tops of our heads, and we'll play around with some ideas, right? I don't know. What do you want to start with? What do you think? Sure, right? So depending on maybe how I'm set up, okay, first of all, like before we start doing any moves, I should be monitoring the weapons here, right? You got two arms and two legs, so I generally try to go between the elbows and the knee points to help read that better, right? So if I'm not seeing what you're doing, there's not a lot of chance of me getting out of the way or defending or countering, countering is like really more complicated than you might think, right? Because it could go wrong and I'm going to be in the range to get clobbered, right? So I'm setting up along the lead side because it's the closest one. Now you can do this a lot of different ways, but so those are the closest to me. So that's generally what I'm looking at first. And then with the my peripheral, I should be able to see the other ones, right? So if we're dealing with the lead arm, whatever you do, I can try to move away, from the other side, right? Now, I didn't sort of crash in here where I'm going to get, kind of countered, right? What I want you to do is chase me a bit. So I had to take 2 steps there, but I'm trying to make it a longer distance for you than it is for me. Now this won't, happen, so from here, you moved a lot more than I did. Definitely. Because I'm trying to force you to come to me. Definitely. Rather than me rushing in there. So I'll do it maybe a different way. Yeah, here I feel I'm in a bit more danger than I did in the other one, because even if I throw that second punch now, I think, I was trying to force you to get to me. So if I stand here, you got other ones too, right? And sooner or later, like, these are going to get through because I can't at this distance see very well, even with good Chisao techniques, right? So that would be like a parallel. A lot of people will start with their lead, you know, and then I'm here, right? So I'm actually trying to block off this arm with my strikes. Now, this isn't necessarily always going to happen, right? But I'm looking for chances to throw this punch, right? So a good idea is maybe just keeping your guard there and let it deal with the first thing without trying to do too much right away, you know? So if I'm in a cross guard, you do the same thing. You know, I'm on the inside, you know, I need to, you know, get active with this leading hand, you know, and try. So that a little slower would be something like 1, 2, 3. That's asking a lot, right? Yeah. But it interrupts you. Definitely. Even if it's not the hardest punch in the world, yeah. You know, if it's touching you, sorry, but you know, what I'm trying to do is interrupt your plan. So if I say cross block like that and do nothing else, yeah, that's going to collapse, right? I'm going to be late. So I have to, like when we do even just basic Chisao, you know, as soon as I do that, I'm going to throw a punch, right? Yes. So that's been taught to us for, you know, 200 years, right? Do this and throw a punch, right? So if I feed you a couple of times, use your lead hand just to deal with this. And you see, you made me chase you, right? So if I just sort of continue with that, right? Bam, bam, right? So if you look at what this arm is doing, we'll do that slow. He touches, throws a punch, right? I'm the one who's walking into it here. Bang, you know? So that makes it a little harder for me to follow it, right? But if you do nothing with that arm, then this one. If you do nothing with that arm still, then, you know, this, then that. And, you know, a friend of ours, Tyler, hi Tyler.
What's up, Tyler?
He sent me a video today. This guy, you know, obviously a high level guy is hitting a heavy bag and you can hear the thuds and the vibrations coming out. And, you know, if you're going to stand there like a heavy bag, then, well, it's going to hurt, right? So I hope you can get the footwork in here. So the first thing is like, you're off that position now. A little bit, but it forces me to recalculate, right? So if I do the next thing, then, you know, you're making me slower, which by default makes you faster. So even though you're fast, you know, you're still making me slower, right? Because I'm chasing more distance than you are every single move, right? So that's like just a concept rather than like techniques. Whatever techniques you decide to use, I think, you know, you could apply this, right? So if you want to switch your guard this time, so say we're in a cross position and I throw the same kind of idea, well, we're set up differently. So you got different available maneuvers. And in this case here, my center is a little bit maybe more exposed too, right? So, you know, you're looking for this where, you know, that wouldn't happen if I didn't do this.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So, you know, you're here and then you're still covered, right? And me seeing this coming towards my face forces me to do one of two things. One, eat it, right? So if I do nothing, I'm going to get hit. Sorry, so I get hit here. It's not easy to throw that punch while I'm getting hit, right? So there are situations you have to train yourself to do that, I think, so there's no delay, right? And so I'm exposed right now. So even if I dodge this somehow, it slows my second punch down, right? Like, you see how I had to, like, if I don't want to get hit with that, you see, like, I either have to make that move before this, or I have to block it somehow. Yes. You know, and that it takes me time, right? It takes time away from me, so I can't just continue with my plan because you're interrupting my plan. Okay. And I remember, you know, Sifu saying this and Grandmaster saying this is, you know, you can't win without attacking, right? So you're trying to train yourself to recognize in between the strikes, there's not a lot of time, but there are opportunities there, okay? And so we break down just, there's two basic ways to set up, cross and parallel. So if we stick with this cross setup for a second, if I have to choose, how do I get around your guard? or how do I grab it and deal with that? So we're not really dealing with Wing Chun versus Wing Chun. But well, you can play that role and I'll come around, right?
Okay.
So I'm here.
So
I set this up. You have a decision to make, right? How are you going to get around my guard, right? And so in this situation, you're giving me the center, right? Because I'm here and I have to know what to do, right? So when I'm in a cross position, I know I always have a kick, and I sometimes I'm not going to be fast enough to do all of this too. So I need to know, how to use this one arm without overcommitting, and then trying to get out of the center. So it's really more about, I think, the stepping than it is my blocking. Because if you do that again, I'm hopefully not there.
Yes.
Right? And so we'll time out for a second. Thank you. I'm cutting it close there. It's taking a real gamble, not using my arms. But if you think about it this way, we do this super slow. The punch comes in, I'm at the wrist. Well, look, right?
Yeah.
You throw the next one, I'm at the wrist. I should be out of the path.
Yeah.
Okay, so if I'm stuck here, even if my arms are fast enough, this could collapse now, and I'm in the path. So, if I'm not as strong or stronger than my opponent here, well, that's bad strategy, I think. Even if I am strong enough, that still might not work.
Yeah.
You get what I mean?
Yeah.
So when I was, not sport fighting, you're not always hanging out in a guard either, doing like security work or something like that. You got your hands, somewhere not like this, right? Because that just makes it worse already. So, we're talking and the punch comes, it should be the step that happens first. I think that's really, critical for those of us who don't want to just like, bang or bash, as Sifu would like to say. Now, if you're competing, that's different because when you're fighting, who you're fighting, hopefully, and when. So you get to prepare. At Friday night at 8 p.m., I'm fighting. So I got all week and all day and all month to prepare. But if you're in a security job, let's say, or law enforcement or whatever, you could have 10 slow days, and then one day everything falls apart and the sky's on fire or whatever, you know what I mean? Everything's going down. Even just here, not too long ago, there was an incident in a seemingly very peaceful place, right? So you kind of always at this level of readiness, right? And so if I'm just kind of standing here flat and you decide to throw punches, I don't know, not so ready. Okay, so getting back to whether I'm in a guard or not, I got to be ready to move. I think would be step one. So the parallel situation, I'm trying to get you to turn to the situation where I've got two arms ready. Okay. If I don't want to hit you because I'm doing security, then I need to try to take your balance, right? As opposed to, doing this, because you can get into some trouble hitting people in those situations, right? Now, but if you're, competing, well, we agreed to that, so that's different, right? So that was just a simple thing, and I just kind of followed and got off that path, and now you're in a little bit more vulnerable. So if I need to run away or something like that, if this is more than one person trying to attack me, if I just start to box with you, then 3 other people are going to get around my back, or and then what's going to happen? I'm going to get choked out. I'm going to get, that's a wrap, right?
Yep.
So you can do something like that, and I might have a chance to just keep you off balance here, or follow up and go in for the finish, right? So I'll do that to you a few times. So you move off to the blind side, whichever side you want to do, right? And I come here, you've got full control.
Yep.
And this stuff can hurt, but it's not going to leave any marks.
Yes.
It's also important, right? So you got a really good control from the inside of my elbow here. That's good. That's so good. And a little slower so you can see what's going on is this hand's coming in. You got 2 points of control. You could look at this as very similar to the wooden dummy sequence, like the second move, right? If you wanted to, you could
Oh, yes.
scoop me around. I'm gonna fall awkwardly, so be gentle.
Okay.
But you got, boom, and here we go, right? You got a knee on belly here if you want it.
Yeah.
You know, you got a knee on face. And so, you know, that neutralizes the combo pretty fast,
Yes.
right? And in the cross situation, it's sort of the opposite, because here, and then I'm the one who you can do whatever you want. I'm just saying, the point is, right from the beginning, you have the target.
Yes.
Whereas in the other one, it was as this happened, sort of in between the first and second move.
Yes.
If that makes any sense. So, you know, we're talking about microseconds, right?
Yes.
Or like, so this is why our reflexes have to be so precise. But, you know, we go back to the super basic thing. You know, you touch the arm, you know there's a hit there because you got a reference point,
Yes.
right? So if you can't touch my arm, you know the target is too far away, right? So on the wooden dummy, you have like a half an arm.
Yes.
And in our mind, sometimes it's the wrist, other times it's the elbow. So when you're at the wrist, okay, and then when you're at the elbow, okay, you have different options, right? Because it's a whole different reference point. So for those of you who are like working on a wooden dummy, for me, it took a long time to understand like what that dummy was doing, right? Because it kind of just stands there and you're trying to bring it to life with drills and exercises like this, right? So, you know, I guess the other thing is like, okay, you could throw a lot of different punches too, right? So if you want to start with the jab, let's say, and throw an uppercut or whatever, it doesn't matter. It doesn't really, you know, I'm still moving away from the other side. Now, is this possible every single time? I don't know, but you practice it and it should get easier to happen, right? And all I'm doing is I'm getting a reference point, right? And knowing what to do next, or teaching myself what to do next, right? And if I don't move, see, like I'm still in the path here. So even if I'm punching you here, I feel like, you know, there's a good chance we're gonna trade,
Yeah.
right? So that is, I think, when I was, you know, when we were looking at the video earlier, just, you know, again, it's you know, a pro or a semi-pro guy, pretty strong throwing these punches. The punches tend to get harder in the combo, right? Like they'll start with a feint, then a jab, then a cross, and then the hook to the body, or that they sort of build in power. So if I'm going to try to block the first two punches, block, and let you keep going, they get harder, right? Boom, and you're building, you know, this, right? So I think the movement and positioning should be like number one, especially if you're like a welterweight, middleweight type person, dealing with someone stronger than you or bigger than you. You're not going to have a lot of success trying to trade punches, right? Whether you're sport fighting or not. We'll back it up here a little bit. Yeah. So, so let me feed you a couple, and just play around, just have some fun, right? All right. I'll throw a few like low ones, high ones. The thing is, you get the reference first, off the first arm, touch it, and no matter what I try to do, that sort of helps you to figure out what's next. All right? It's that time I just tried to throw a fake there. You didn't get your reference, but you're still seeing it, right? You're still moving, and it doesn't really change your plan a whole lot, right? Okay. So for Tyler's benefit, I'm going to try to throw a third punch, but it's getting harder here to, you see, I just had to get hit twice in order just to get to that.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's a good strategy. Whether you use this move, that move, it doesn't really matter. I'm just going to switch for you. You can stay. That's important. Yeah, absolutely. So I'll start with this side, whether I'm here first, okay, or I go low, maybe, or I go, okay. So I try. It's okay, no. Okay. I think the main point here is if you can see the footwork, that's what's getting you where you need to be. No matter what I'm doing, you're not here anymore. So it's very hard for me to get to move 5. I'm not even really getting to move 2.
Yes.
Barely, right? 1, 2, I'm in 2 now, and here we're getting hit. So the other option is just go away, like get out of there,
Yeah.
right? You don't have to punch. Well, I mean, 3 points, right? So we got step 1, 2, 3. It's happening in the transition. It's hard to say that like one super secret move is gonna solve all your problems, right? So if I think more concept, don't stand there, get your hands active. You gotta train your eyes to see what's really going on. So when you touch here, you're seeing targets, you're seeing threats and openings, no matter, and on a slow pace, like, you get all these strikes off. As it starts to get quicker, I'll try to move away a little bit, and we're back to here again. And so that time it neutralized. Okay, you didn't get hit, you got out of the way. I realized things were going poorly, and I'm forced to regroup. And so I don't really get to the 3rd or 4th, attack at that point. Okay, so I'll feed you a couple more. Okay, carry on. So here, I'm not really able to commit to those attacks because there's just something going on.
Yes.
And so we're playing a little bit more cat and mouse here. But the movement, I think, is that's what's saving me now, right? Because I initiate this, attack. So if I kind of lunge in on all these things, you see I'm drifting my face in. So when people are angry, they make more mistakes like that because I just want to go rawr. But you see, I'm bringing all this in. So, pros in what I think of a professional is when the punches are getting hit and stuff, and you see no expression change, like they're at work. It's not personal. They're not upset about it. They don't want to get hit, but it's going to happen. So that always impresses me when I'm seeing someone fight and they get hit and they're just like, okay. It's like the Terminator coming at you. It's like, whoa. It's scary. Or when someone smiles, right? They get hit and they're like, that's now we're tough. And it's like, oh shoot, now I'm in for a long day at the office, right? But again, like that's psychological part of it too, right? Yes. If you're not ready or willing to accept getting hit in these situations, that's going to create an emotional response, which is generally, you can think of this in life too. It's like, you're not going to make your best decisions when you're angry, scared, upset. So you got to kind of let it stay cool in the head there, right?
Yeah.
All right, we're going to take that. Yeah. Thanks, brother.
Thank you.